Dennis, why don't we get started?
Okay. Good afternoon, I'm Dennis Galucki, and welcome to the 422nd Imagine Buffalo Virtual Summer Series featuring today Lielle Berman Lou Paonessa from the New York Power Authority. For 10 weeks, we are focusing on the theme, Creating a Culture of Sustainability. This is week 4 in that 10-week program. Thanks so much for joining us today. Imagine Buffalo was created over a decade ago by the Center for the Study of Art and Architecture, History, and Nature, or C-SAAHN, as I call it, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Our program is hosted by the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library System. Now, we're going to start with our speakers shortly, but first, a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted during our speakers presentation, which will run about 15 minutes or so. We'll have time for questions at the end, so if you do have a question, please type it into the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can. This program is being recorded. You'll be able to watch it again later on the library's Facebook and YouTube channels and share the link with your networks, if you will. As a reminder, Life Willing will be here on Zoom every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. with a great lineup of local speakers. Now, today's featured speakers are Lielle Berman and Lou Paonessa. Lielle is the Senior Sustainability Project Coordinator at the New York Power Authority. She is a specialist in stakeholder engagement and utilizes behavioral psychology and change management approaches to drive enterprise-wide sustainability performance. She designs and implements training, education, events, campaigns, and initiatives relating to sustainability topics, such as energy, waste, purchasing, electric vehicles, and climate change. She is currently managing Sustainable You, Let's Get Climate Smart, a project to develop and deliver comprehensive climate science and sustainability training to all New York Power Authority employees and stakeholders. Lou Paonessa serves as Community Affairs Director for the New York Power Authority. He interacts with elected officials, civic leaders, and the public in communities on the Niagara frontier and throughout much of Western New York. Among his various roles, he serves in media relations and represents the Power Authority on boards and committees of key area organizations. He also oversees operation of the Niagara Power Vista, the Power Project's Visitor Center, which has long been a major tourist attraction in our region. So now let's welcome both Lielle Berman and Lou Paonessa.
Thank you, Dennis.
Very much. Thanks, Dennis. And on behalf of Lielle, we're really pleased to be part of this series. I'm looking at your lineup of speakers and the ones you've had and the ones that you continue to have. And we've interacted with all of them in some way, shape, or form. With the University of Buffalo and their sustainability project, we had a hand in the solar array out at UB and energy improvements at the dorms. We've worked with the Carousel Society on the Carousel Canal side. Of course, NYPA funds a lot of the economic development that's happening downtown along the waterfront, including the Greenway funding some of the Carousel project. We work closely with Congressman Brian Higgins on a number of initiatives, not the least of which one he talked about last week, which is the removal of the Niagara Scenic Parkway along the gorge. And we work with the Erie County Department of Planning. They're partners with us in the Greenway. Explore and More, we've had funding in there, and it's just a great museum. And of course, we work with Jill and Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper on a number of ecological projects. So we're really happy to be here today, and we're going to try and limit ourselves to make sure that there's time for question and answer. But very quickly, the NYPA mission, I want to talk to you about NYPA, just to give you a quick introduction. The Power Authority is America's largest state power organization. We have 16 generating facilities and more than 1,400 circuit miles of transmission lines. We provide the lowest cost electricity in New York State, and we're the only statewide electricity supplier. Our longstanding commitment to the environment is seen in our stewardship of NYPA property and our leadership in energy efficiency and clean energy generation, and our sustainability practices at our facilities and visitor centers that Lielle will talk quite a bit about. More than 70% of the electricity that NYPA produces is clean hydropower. And our mission, as you can read here, is to lead the transition to a carbon-free, economically vibrant New York through customer partnerships, innovative energy solutions, and the responsible supply of affordable, clean, and reliable electricity. During the pandemic, we maintained focus on the critical need to keep power flowing, but we also put the finishing touches on a new strategic plan. NYPA Vision 2030 has 5 main priorities that will focus NYPA over the next 10 years toward achieving the state's ambitious energy goals and bolster economic development. Now, I know this group and this audience is very familiar with the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, but NYPA, I really want to showcase to you that among our strategic priorities are preserving and enhancing the value of hydropower and partnering with our customers in the state to meet their energy goals, all among our major priorities. Sustainability is tightly interwoven in all of those priorities, so I want Lielle to highlight those aspects. Let me just say that I get to talk about NYPA in general, but Lielle really makes sustainability part of what we do day to day. I just finished Unit 2 of Sustainable You yesterday. She's the expert. I'm the reason why, she's the reason why I have a electric powered lawnmower. I mean, she puts that into our daily life and our working life, and she's great to lead us through this next part of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Lou. All right, so before I start talking about how we do engagement at NYPA, I just want to talk a little bit more about our strategy, our Vision 2030. In addition to our strategic priorities, our strategy also defines 5 foundational pillars that are intended to ensure we can succeed in reaching our goals. So while the concept of sustainability is present through every one of these pillars, the environmental, social, and governance, or ESG pillar, is where our sustainability function lives at NYPA, and it's intended to drive our continual improvement in sustainability performance for long-term value creation. So is that the next slide here? Okay, so we also have a plan. What are we actually doing in terms of sustainability initiatives, projects? Our ESG ambition is to deliver on a best-in-class sustainability strategy to meet the present and future needs of our stakeholders and enhance long-term environmental, social, governance, and economic performance. Our 5-year sustainability plan is the roadmap to help bring all our ambitions to life. The plan outlines the steps that NYPA and our subsidiary, the Canal Corporation, are committed to taking to advance sustainability efforts across 15 material ESG focus areas between now and 2025. The sustainability plan defines projects and initiatives to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, increase environmental stewardship, champion diversity, equity, and inclusion, green our supply chain, and dozens more impact and value-related actions. All right, so now to the fun stuff, how we do engagement, how we create our culture of sustainability at NYPA. We really have a very holistic approach to how we do this. As Lou said, there's so many ways to become engaged in sustainability efforts and to become a sustainable thinker, a sustainability systems thinker. So we kind of run the gamut across the entire spectrum of possible entry points into sustainability thinking, and really engage employees, meet them where they are, where their interests lie, and what they care about. So we do know that meeting the targets of an enterprise-wide sustainability plan is going to take all hands on deck. So that's exactly why creating the culture of sustainability is so critically important. If we have a clear shared vision for a carbon-free, equitable future, that's like the tip of the spear for forging new pathways ahead. Our sustainability engagement work has been an ongoing effort for several years, and like sustainability itself, we're always evolving the program as where we are as an organization evolves as well. We see sustainability as a continuous process. So the goal of engagement is to bring everyone to a place of engagement in and contributing to the process of sustainability. Like, for instance, applying a sustainability lens to business decision-making and everyday workplace actions or initiatives and projects. As I said before, we also acknowledge the holistic and integrative aspects of sustainability in our engagement work, because understanding how everything is interconnected helps drive sustainability performance in every nook and cranny of the organization, so that no matter what your job function, you have a meaningful role to play. So the images here represent just a few of our engagement initiatives over the past several years. Top left was from a waste reduction and recycling training. Bottom left was a green commuting campaign. Bottom center was a really fun volunteer day where we did biodynamic farming for a local food pantry. Bottom right was an EV test drive event at one of our sites for employees. And top right was a National Pollinator Week event where we distributed wildflower seeds and resources about native plants. So this graphic in the center is just one of the ways we conceptualize sustainability with our employees. We try to create a lot of analogies and visualizations that we can kind of grasp the concepts and then be able to apply meaningfully in the work environment, or any place that we could have an impact. So the wheel here shows the interconnected and interdependent sectors of environment, society, and economy. They form a wheel, or as we like to say at NYPA, being in the hydroelectric generation business, it could be a turbine. So we need our turbine to spin continuously and productively. And in order for that to happen, the parts of the whole must, each of them, be thriving, and they have to maintain their own integrity. So if any section becomes compromised, the turbine itself can't function, and then unless we intervene, it could ultimately break apart, which is obviously what we're trying to avoid. And so this is, as I said, an analogy that helps to relate to what we want to think in terms of integrating sustainability thinking and the mindset at NYPA. All right, so Dennis mentioned Sustainable You, and Lou is a participant in this training program we have going on right now. So the concept of the sustainability mindset was a key concept in the first unit of this program. The Sustainable You program itself is a year-long climate science training. It's for all NYPA and Canal's 2,400 employees, and we just launched it this past February, shortly after the Vision 2030 strategy was released. This program is the main focus of our sustainability engagement this year. We're doing everything remotely, so it kind of fits together. But it's really about connecting every one of our employees with the science that has informed the CLCPA and NYPA's own climate action goals and commitments. So we launched the program to support and drive engagement in Vision 2030, because we know that the success of every transformational initiative affecting NYPA and canals over the next decade, from the CLCPA to NYPA's 10-point diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, depends in large part on the NYPA and canals workforce having full scope knowledge of the causes and impacts of climate change. And because all aspects of climate change have significant effects on economic and social systems, a well-informed NYPA and canals will enable us to affect solutions across all sectors and systems, and really be tapped into that systems thinking mindset. Okay, so, one thing I forgot to mention here about Sustainable You. We're really looking forward to the next phase of this program. Once we've completed the 5-unit course, the 5 units that you see on the slide, once we've completed that with NYPA and canals early next year, we're going to be adapting the course format and content to share with our customers and community stakeholders and other organizations to be able to implement if they would like to. Okay, so that brings us to some of our public-facing sustainability-related efforts. We have a wonderful and robust environmental justice program that does amazing work with EJ communities all across the state. They're running kind of too many initiatives to detail them all here, but just a few worth mentioning in the Western New York area include community energy projects, like you can see here in the main photo on the slide, which was a lighting project at the Niagara Falls Housing Authority. They do adult energy literacy programming, like energy and weatherization workshops for low-income homeowners and renters, STEM summer camps and after-school programs, and they provide scholarships for career pathways in renewable energy fields for young people. They're doing some great work. In our land areas, we have several land use initiatives going on across the state that are focused on land restoration, integrated vegetation management on the rights of ways along our transmission lines, and public education through our visitor centers on the value of native ecosystems and pollinator habitat conservation. So to demonstrate native pollinator habitats, the Niagara Power Vista is home to our very first native pollinator garden, which is in its first season right now. So kind of, you know, the toddler phase, and will grow up to be a flourishing garden. And in addition to that, we are also restoring several pollinator meadows on the Niagara Power Project grounds. And those are going to take several seasons to fully establish, but it'll be a really worthwhile process, especially when visitors will be able to walk through the meadows and hang out with all sorts of beautiful, happy pollinator species, and engaging with educational materials that teach about the native plants that are going to be populating those meadows. Our next pollinator project is just getting started on the Utica Zoo campus, with pollinator gardens and meadows also planned there near NYPA's new Energy Zone Visitor Center. So turning to electric vehicles, another program that's opening doors for sustainability in New York is the Evolve New York program, which is a $250 million investment in DC fast charging station sites across the state. These fast chargers are located about every 50 miles or so along the thruway and major highway corridors, making it so that a long-range battery electric car can travel anywhere in the state without getting stuck for charging. EV adoption has, across the country has been somewhat hindered by lack of public and fast charging access. So this program is strategically designed to put the infrastructure in place so that people can feel confident in going electric for their next vehicle. And this directly supports the governor's goal of 850,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2025. So on the EV education and engagement side, our sustainability team and the community affairs team have been hosting EV test drive events at all of our visitor centers, where anyone in the community can come and drive different makes and models, learn all about EVs and charging, and get their questions answered without getting a sales pitch or pressure to buy anything. We paused these events during COVID, obviously, but we are planning to pick it up again, and have some plans to have events this fall at the Power Vista and also in Utica at the Energy Zone. So watch for more info to come on the EV Ride and Drive event at the Power Vista in October. So I'm going to hand it back over to Lou. I'm hoping that you can tell us a bit more about the role that the visitor centers play in educating for sustainability and climate action.
And thank you, Lielle. And as you can see, the visitor center plays an important role because we host many of these activities, from the EV drive events to the Northland students coming here in just a few weeks. And basically, we call the Power Vista a place where science meets the playground. So we take all the science behind hydropower generation, as well as the themes of sustainability, energy efficiency, and economic development, turn them into hands-on activities that children as young as the early grade schools right through to senior citizens can have fun and learn about. And we supplement that with everything from the pollinator gardens to the EV drive events. But I really want to go back that this is all part of our recent strategic plan, but I want to take you back even to 2007 to show you that it's really been woven through everything that we do at NYPA for a long time. When we talk about community benefits that were negotiated as part of the relicensing of the Niagara Power project. So back in 2007, we negotiated with the local communities and obtained from FERC a license to operate for another 50 years. And among those benefits were the Niagara River Greenway, $450 million over the course of the license, or $9 million a year, to the series of parks and trails that go from the spine from Lake Ontario to Lake Erie. Also, ecological improvements as part of the license, more than $48 million, including 8 habitat improvement projects. If you remember what happened out at Strawberry Island, the restoration there, Frog Island, Motor Island, Beaver Island, wetland restoration, control of invasive species at Buckhorn and Tift Marshes, osprey nesting on the Niagara River, common tern nesting, and installation of fish habitat attraction structures. All those have been in construction and completed and are now in monitoring or maintenance phases. Now, we also did more than $18 million in recreational improvements, cruising parks and recreation, Reservoir State Park completely renovated, fishing facilities, including at our Robert Moses Dam, overlooks, trails from Art Park and state parks, all separate from the Niagara River Greenway. So we've continued to make ecology and recreational improvements a part of our ongoing operations. And finally, we're committed to helping our customers practice what we preach. And we have a new and growing business of NYPA's Customer Energy Solutions. It's a team that offers a comprehensive set of design build energy projects, digital energy management, and demand and response capabilities. We've financed well over $115 million in completed projects at more than 388 sites in Western New York, saves taxpayers money, and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. We've helped local cities, including Buffalo, Rochester, and others with energy master plans. UB has been one of our big customers. A lot of the energy improvements at their dorms, in addition to the solar plan. I've done work at the NFTA. There's solar panels on the roof of a garage. We're installing electric charging for electric buses in the NFTA bus garage. So just small examples of the many, many projects that we're doing throughout Western New York. And I don't want to wrap this up. I know we're running probably over on our time, but just a few years ago, New York State government saw the synergies between NYPA and the New York State canal system and put that historical asset under our care. We're committed to spending over $1.4 billion on the canal over the next 10 years. And that's on top of the $300 million investment that the state has made to ensure it remains a driver of economic development for upstate communities as part of the Reimagine the Canals initiative. One of the things that we've done locally is allow the release of water from the Erie Canal into Lake Ontario tributaries, increasing the water levels and flows in streams and encouraging the expansion of the fishing season, which has been a great boon to some of the canal communities. So just another example of what's going on in Western New York as far as what NYPA has done with the canal system. So, I think I'm going to cut it off there and really allow the guests to start asking questions. But I hope we've given you an overview of how sustainability is woven into everything we do at NYPA, from our employee engagement to our community engagement to our operations.
Lou, that was outstanding. Lielle, as well, great overview. We'll ask our folks visiting us here and watching to put in any questions in the chat box and kick off our questions with JD. JD, do you have anything to begin with?
I do. Thanks, Dennis, and thanks for the presentation. I have 2 quick questions, one for Lou, one for Lielle. Lou, the employees of NYPA, I know there's a lot, 1,800 plus or so, can participate in the New York State pension plan. And, there's a lot of grappling going on with Controller DiNapoli about the pension plan divesting from fossil fuel companies, specifically those that extract and burn carbon. Do you guys have do you take a stance on that? I mean, you guys are an 800-pound gorilla. You're working with everybody in West New York, every single one of our guests. So I know you have not you personally, I know that NYPA has an opinion. Do you express it on divestment?
I think subtly, you know, we're an entity and a creature of the New York State Legislature, and everything that we do involves communication with our elected representatives in each of our regions. We have a great relationship with the Western New York delegation, also with the governor's office. And yes, you know, we're asked to be a driver of state energy policy. So as part of that, we have continual communication and feedback with elected officials and state government on how to practice what we preach. And that's certainly an idea. So, you know, I wouldn't say we're an 800-pound gorilla, but we definitely have, you know, influence and try and demonstrate exactly what we preach on sustainability.
Well, thank you. And then Lielle, just quickly, and sometimes I know the answer to a question I ask, other times I'm picking a fight, but neither on this. You know, with the advancement of technology, is your basic, you know, hydroelectric power production here in the Western New York area, is that improving? Because, you know, nothing's perfect, and dams and turbines and whatnot really disrupt the hydrology of a very fragile ecosystem, one that's considered one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Are you guys constantly improving that, or is that like, hey, we're looking more to our other, you know, electricity production to reduce our carbon footprint?
Yeah, so I think as far as the footprint of the hydroelectric facilities, the real environmental disruption is, or I guess the biggest environmental disruption with hydro is the construction of new facilities. So the best thing that we can do with existing hydro assets is to update them, upgrade them, maintain them, and manage them in the most responsible and stewardship approach possible. And so that is what we're looking, or what we do and what we continually improve with how we manage our hydro assets. We really are considering all of what our operations touch as far as impact and environmental impact. And so sometimes there are necessary trade-offs in, you know, how you consider a pathway forward, but that's why it's a continually evolving process, because, you know, what might make sense as far as a management approach today might change, you know, in another year or two as conditions change, or, you know, as what's going on around. So I think it's integrative in that sense. But the carbon neutral aspect of that hydro gives us, while, you know, being able to provide that base energy, so base load source, is incredibly valuable in this age of decarbonization.
Yeah, if I could just, you know, jump a little bit further into that. The Niagara Power Project is used not only as a base load, but we can react much quicker than any other power sources out there. You know, solar is great when the sun is shining, or you have batteries to back up and inject into the grid, but we can adjust the load every 6 seconds. I mean, that's the capability of the Niagara Power Project. Now, that's a little hard on our equipment. I think some of the operators cringe a little bit when I say that, but really, we're the effective balance of the straight electric grid when you take a look at our large hydropower plants, not only here, but also at St. Lawrence. So,
Cool. Thanks,
Great.
Lou.
Thank you both. Melissa, how are we doing for questions?
We do not have any questions right now.
And we will continue this conversation. Here's when I started this series, I had in the back of my mind as a docent for the last decade for the Albright Knox Art Gallery and last 20 years for the Martin House, that school tours, and that's what I primarily give our school tours, really incorporated our culture change towards STEM awareness, especially focusing on young girls, young ladies, that science, technology, you know, math, engineering, it's all important stuff not to be dropped off, but cultivated from pre-K literally through post-high school. And I'm wondering if we're going to develop a culture for sustainability, how can, you're at the state level, state education really can drive a lot of thought process that otherwise is up to every cultural, almost competing with the Vista, Power Vista, for school buses, for those few field trips that schools used to take before COVID-19, hopefully will resume as soon as possible. But I'm wondering, at the level of the authority, can it integrate a sustainability culture, give it some acronym like STEM, and say, this is what New York State wants to be known for. It has goals, very big goals, but it's not going to get there just with a few outposts here and there. It has to be a sustained integration with culture, educational culture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and if I can start, and then I'll let Lielle, take over. Again, practicing what we preach. I had a conflict today. I have an engineer going and speaking to the P-Tech program at Niagara Falls High School at the same time that you and I were here today. So yeah, we're sending our folks out there as representatives into the community to talk to these people. We want to develop the workforce of the future. It's why we put $15 million into the Northland Workforce Development Center, and why for over the next 5 Fridays, we're going to have students here on field trips. We had over 200 field trips from school groups annually before COVID hit, and we know we'll get back to that. NYPA this year put together, what I think it was 10 scholarships for students, again, in P-Tech type programs and internship programs, not here just at the Niagara Power Project, but also our other sites. So we're developing the workforce of the future. We're trying to be an educational force for sustainability and for, equity and social justice to help people see themselves in this type of career, including women engineers, minorities, and we're doing a lot of work in that regards. And Lielle probably can tell you a lot more.
Yeah, I think the value of education towards cultivating culture and influencing culture really it has its roots in values building. What do we value? And there's a really great quote by the great environmentalist Baba Dioum, who he says, so I just pulled it up because made me think of it. In the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. So this kind of comes back to, what we value, what we love, we value what we care about, what is close to us, what matters to us. But the exposure to new ideas and the connection with aspects of the world that we may not otherwise have an opportunity to experience or understand or be exposed to, those are the sort of missing pieces that drive us to shift to new value paradigms that allow us to really scale up our stewardship, our responsibility, our conservation, and really kind of structure systems in new ways. So I think the state level is a really great sort of scale to do this in, because it's small enough to be able and to really, identify as like a citizen of New York State. And to connect with culture across the state, but at the same time, it's big enough to be able to make an impact and sort of resonate on a bigger level, on a larger scale. And I think that's what New York is doing. The CLCPA is really groundbreaking legislation that is getting a lot of attention and is intended to take a real leadership role. It is leading by example, and that is something also that at NYPA, it's our sustainability work is very much rooted in this. Well, we have to lead by example. People, it's not do as I say, do as I do. We and especially younger generations, they don't learn by being told things. They learn by experiencing things and what they see modeled for them. So as we look to have sort of a 360-degree influence on cultures and the values that are integrated in our culture, it really has to do with how we are modeling in the greater world around us. What are people seeing and experiencing, and are they seeing those values front and center? So yeah, we're definitely trying to do that. We're working with our customers and all of our stakeholders to, understand that we have to prioritize this expression of our values for stewardship and sustainability.
Yeah, thanks. I figured you're doing much, and we almost have to imagine creatively what to continue doing if we're going to really meet the challenges, I think, in front of us. Melissa, any last
We do have
possibility?
one quick question. What percentage of vehicles on the road would 850,000 be in 2025?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's pretty small in New York State. There are millions of cars on the road in New York State. So it's something around the 1% mark. It's not big, but off the top of my head, I'd have to look up the exact number.
Thank you.
That's the other thing I really appreciated about your goals, that beautifully, now that you're with the canal, Erie Canal, chime in with the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal in 2025. A lot of other states and countries are talking about 2035 and 2050 and what they're going to do then. But I think a goal like 2025 to set targets, measurable targets that we can all celebrate if we accomplish, and scratch our heads to figure out how to do a better job if we don't. That's a good thing, and I'm glad that is your target. That happens to be, I think, especially the tie-in with the Erie Canal and water. This is all a good thing. Lou, one last question. You said it right at the beginning. What percentage of our power is met by the New York Power Authority?
Well, 70% of the electricity we produce is clean hydropower. The Niagara Power Project probably generates at any one given time 10% of the state's energy, and NYPA, through our various generating facilities, 20 to 25%.
I would think every blockchain company would be ringing our doorbells to try to get into New York State and look very green in doing so. Do we have policies in how we deal with them?
Those are evolving constantly, and it's a great issue because I think there's a blockchain company right now that wants to reopen a gas plant to do some of that Bitcoin mining, and that's certainly not going to help the state meet its clean energy goals. And it's a balancing act for us. Economic development is one of our top priorities. It's one of the reasons why we exist. And is it wise to take large amounts of clean renewable hydropower and throw it into an industry that might generate a couple of jobs? We have a real cost benefit relationship between our economic development hydropower awards and the benefit to the community. We're looking for jobs and we're looking for capital investment. So it's very hard for those blockchain companies to qualify under that criteria.
Yeah, I just want to go back for a second to the question from one of our attendees, and there are about 4.5 million cars on the road in New York State, so 850,000 would be about 20%. So it would be a dramatic increase. It's a long way to go, but
Yes.
and then hey, look at if you're recharging your electric car with energy from a coal-fired power plant in the Ohio Valley, it doesn't accomplish anything. So we really need these alternative sources like hydro and all to make the electric revolution, just make us anything different than a slave to another master. So anyway.
Well, if I could jump on that, actually, it's interestingly how the electric cars use energy so much more efficiently than gas cars, that now with the efficiency of the cars that are on the market currently to buy and put on the road, there is a net benefit regardless to what grid or the grid mix that you're plugging into. And that's actually a really cool thing about the electric vehicles, is that you're getting the zero tailpipe emissions bang for your buck, but you're also getting a far more efficient use of energy in mile for mile moving you down the road. It's something like 90 to 95% efficiency in a gas car, or in an electric car, versus 17 to 21% in a gas car. So it's huge difference.
Good info. Thank you.
Great, and an impressive figure. I'll wrap this up by simply saying, do you both see New York State in a leadership position in our country in developing this culture of sustainability that we're talking about.
I
You
say
want me to take-
absolutely. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's with the policy leadership and the energy industry leadership that we have here. We really are setting the bar very high.
And I could wrap that up by saying our directive is to be a leader and help New York State be that leader. So that's the charge of the New York Power Authority.
Well, there's a lot of good people in the community, I know, that want to root for you and be involved in that, in the role that you're playing. So maybe this series can help connect that interest with your goals and visions for New York State and our sustainability. That's what this is all about. All right, we're going to thank you folks so much for participating today, Lou and Michelle. Michelle, Lielle, sorry about that. And welcome you to both stay tuned with future speakers, as well as our archived videos of our previous speakers, including Brian Higgins last week and Kevin Connors, the architectural firm that developed the Heritage Carousel, and Ryan McPherson, UB's Chief Sustainability Officer. We'll be having Bonnie Lang Lawrence. She's the Deputy Commissioner for Erie County's Department of Environment and Planning next week. So continue with us on our sustainability journey. I'm Dennis Galucki. Thank you all for participating. Have a good day and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.